So with that, the FHWA updates come to a close, and it is my privilege to introduce Dave Adams from Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Dave manages the arterial section, freeway section, paint crews, and the Southeastern Regional Traffic Management Center within District 6, which covers the Philadelphia region. He is a licensed professional engineer with 21 years of service to the Commonwealth. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering and is the recipient of the Governor's Award for Excellence in recognition of his role in recovery from the collapse of the bridge carrying I-95 in Northeast Philly. Welcome, and over to you, Dave.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. And thanks for the invitation to be able to come here and speak today. It's a lot of exciting projects and looking forward to talking about them. Next, please. So as mentioned, I'm focusing in on the I-76 queue management efforts and how we've been able to improve operations and safety. Next, please. Just to give a little bit of background for those outside Pennsylvania, PennDot regional map, we're divided up into 11 districts. There is no District 7. I'm in District 6, which is the city of Philadelphia, plus the 4 suburban counties of Delaware, Chester, Montgomery, and Bucks. Next, please. So a little bit of background on our TIM program. Very important to us here in the Philadelphia area. We've had, unfortunately, 4 emergency responders struck and killed since 2018. Very important to us to have a unified TIM program here. We have a freeway service patrol program in both the city and then also in the suburban counties, which do a lot of good work for safety and to act as our eyes on the road. In addition, it's important to us to have proactive safety analysis. We consider ourselves kind of a leader. One of the guys from our office, Matt Elliott, he's been instrumental in reporting struck by incidents to the database in an effort to document and help prevent future tragedies. Next, please. A few of our initiatives. We have a lot of statewide and regional collaboration, including the statewide Penn Time Committee, and then regional TIM meetings, typically done by county and led by DVRPC, which is our local MPO in the Philadelphia area. In addition, technology is important to us as well, including the Haas technology. And then also, from a sustaining perspective statewide, having active participation, and commitment from a lot of our partners. And, it's important for us to all work well together, and we're fortunate to have that here. Next, please. So in terms of training, we've had 94 TIM classes, over 3,000 responders just here in District 6 since 2019, and included also targeted training for our RTMC and freeway service patrol operators, so they're educated as well. And then, a number of different technologies in use, UAS, and then also digital photogrammetry to clear crash scenes for investigations quicker. Also public outreach, including the Pennsylvania's Move Over law and that distracted drive and awareness through public events, and then also encouraging the 511 PA system. It's common for us to have, press conferences with district leadership and our press team to kind of get the word out there to improve highway safety. Next, please. All right, so a little bit of background on I-76. This is kind of give you a map of where we're at. This is a Schuylkill Expressway from Philadelphia up to the King of Prussia region. It hugs along the Schuylkill River all the way up into Upper Marion Township, which is King of Prussia. Next, please. So some background on the Schuylkill Expressway. It was open in sections back during the 1950s. Provided a route for people in the city to get up to Valley Forge. Of course, that's where the park is, where the Continental Army had encamped from 1777 to 1778, a very historical area. In addition, around that time, the Pennsylvania Turnpike was extended from its original route, which was from east of Pittsburgh to west of Harrisburg, all the way to the Philadelphia area. So this connected up to the turnpike up at Valley Forge. So if you were going to drive from the city of Philadelphia all the way over to Pittsburgh, then this would be a route to get up to the turnpike and head west into the western part of the state. Next, please. So we were constrained on both sides. It's a challenging situation. So you have steep cliffs on one side and the Schuylkill River on the other, which makes it very difficult for any type of expansion effort. So it ends up being a natural bottleneck. In addition, since it was built in the 50s, the King of Prussia area has really expanded. We have the King of Prussia Mall, which is one of the largest malls in the country. It's a very big commercial center in addition to completion of 476, which we call locally the Blue Route, along the western edge of the suburbs. So from a transportation perspective, the very high demand corridor, and with limited constraints, it kind of limits our options. So we've turned to different things like ITS technologies, which we'll kind of walk through here. Next, please. So to give a little bit of background, this is at our district office, our traffic management center. This is where I'm located right now. This was opened in 2023. We modeled off of a lot of, we visited a number of other TMCs and decided, well, what we like and what we wanted to improve. And very great facility to be able to manage all the ITS devices. We have over 500 cameras in the Philly area, plus over 200 message boards. We have a really nice room for our incident command center. So very good place and plenty of room for expansion too in the future. Next, please. This is the start of the Schuylkill Expressway, just to kind of give an idea here. With the Schuylkill Expressway Plus on the right there, you can see the variable speed limit sign. Next, please. So what's the problem? High number of crashes and overcapacity. So what's the remedy? And here in terms of variable speed limits, it's two parts. One was we wanted to reduce the likelihood of a rear-end crash at the back of the traffic queue. And number two, reduce the likelihood of a crash when you have a situation with high density and very high speed, which I'll walk through both of those. Next, please. All right, so this is a look at through our ATMS software, what it looks like. We have 72 variable speed limit signs, 9 new and utilized 4 existing changeable message signs to work in conjunction with them. And then we installed microwave detectors along the corridor. And then as a backup, we use INREX data, which is crowdsourced data that we purchase for travel times. And we made it operational in early May 2021. Next, please. So some of the fundamentals for the variable speed limit system. So we installed CMSs at high frequency crash locations. We placed the variable speed limit signs at half-mile spacing, which is what we would want to do if it was a regular static sign. Detector data was pulled every 40 seconds through the microwave detectors. In addition, as the backup, like I said, INRIX data is pulled approximately every 8 minutes. So we really needed to have microwave detectors here because for this type of system where we want to know exactly what's happening all the time, you have to have actually a detector out there because there's a little bit of a delay in grabbing the data from crowdsourced. So that's why it was important to have microwave detectors instead of just relying on the crowdsourced data. The maximum speed in Montgomery County is 55 miles per hour. And then when you hit the city limits, then it turns into 50 miles per hour. We don't allow more than a 10 mile per hour step drop in speed limit between variable speed limit signs. And then also it's run fully automated. We can run it manually or semi-autonomously if we have to, but we do allow it to automate 24/7. One thing I'll give you a lesson learned was we found out that when you have a winter storm and you want to limit the top end speed, suppose we do a speed restriction on all interstates of 45 miles per hour. You need to have that functionality in your system to be able to just change the sealant speed to allow it to fluctuate between 35 and 45 instead of 35 and 55. So that was kind of a lesson learned and an enhancement we had to add after the fact. And we have battery backup for the devices. Next, please. Okay, so I talked about the two ways we try to tackle this. One was high density and high speed. Studies have shown, and it's intuitive as a driver too, if you have very high dense traffic at very high speeds, the likelihood of a crash starts to greatly increase. So we have this flow crash potential index that we use, detecting the speeds and the density of traffic to find out when do we get to this point where we need to start dropping the speed limit based on the FCPI. So that's one component of it. Next, please. And the second component of it is, say you have slow or stop traffic, we want to drop speeds and step them down in advance of that traffic. So you could see here, uh, again, we don't drop more than 10 miles per hour at a time, but we would start dropping speed in advance of that slow traffic. So as a driver, one of the great benefits of it is when you start seeing that, speed slowing down on the signs, whether it's 45 or 35, you could intuit that something's going on up ahead. And whereas if it's 55, you got a good amount of confidence that, traffic's running free flow. So that's definitely one of the benefits to the system. Next, please. And this is just kind of an animation. You could see what it looks like on our ATMS software. We have this dashboard that'll show the data coming in terms of speeds, and then also what we're posting on every sign out in the street. And then at the bottom there, you could see, representation of speeds of traffic, whether it's, yellow or red based on speeds. Next, please. So, and for those who might be curious about what equipment we're using, the VSLs are McCain, CMS. We use all Daktronics here in the Philly area, and then the detectors are RTMS, the microwave detectors. Next, please. So in terms of how it's performed, we went live May of 21, as I'd mentioned. There was kind of two analyses we did. One was in looking at initial data in 2021 when it had turned on, because we started getting questions about how it's doing. The biggest thing for that, it was too early to really give conclusions at that point because we were just looking at the data in the months after it was turned on. But we did start to see, reductions month by month in crashes after it was turned on. But we definitely qualified that when people asked us by saying, well, we don't have a couple years of data yet. But we did do an assessment in 2024. We looked at 2022 and 2023 data throughout those years and compared it to pre-COVID, obviously, because we didn't want to compare it to 2020 and early 2021 because it was, definitely traffic patterns were different because of COVID. So next, please. So in a couple of the results, so we had a 22% decrease in total crashes after the VSL was turned on in studying those 2 years versus the years prior to COVID. Next, please. And then a 32% decrease in rear end crashes. Next, please. And then a 21% decrease in crashes involving injury or fatality. These were definitely positive numbers and showed really good results for the system. Next, please. And then just a few highlights. For instance, from a travel time perspective, 2023 versus 2019, we had reduced travel time by 4 minutes eastbound in the PM, and then 2 minutes westbound in the AM. So that 4 minutes, it's like roughly like around 12 or 3% reduction. And then the 2 minutes, you're looking around, 5-6%, just roughly round numbers. So that's very positive. There were some peaks. You could look at the peak before and after, and it might be about the same. But then again, here's examples where it actually reduced travel times in addition to the reductions in crashes. And that's in addition to the corridor carrying about 10% more traffic compared to 2019. So So with that, we were positive that it wasn't based on any reduction in traffic. It was kind of a true comparison in addition to be able to handle more traffic. And then also we used the FHWA emissions calculator, which showed emission reductions of 3,140 metric tons. Next, please. So I mentioned before, just to give you a bigger perspective here, in the 76 quarter, like I said, we're very constrained. So there's kind of a menu of things we've been doing here to try to improve the corridor. And another big part of it was improving traffic signals parallel to the corridor. And historically in Pennsylvania, the municipalities owned and maintained the signals, but we had, legislation that enabled us to, as a state, take over ownership of signals on corridors. And this was the pilot, was to take over corridors that are parallel to 76, and through, improved maintenance and improved operations and equipment, it would be able to help travel through this entire corridor. Next, please. And this gives kind of a list of different things we had looked at and considered, with the part-time shoulder use being one of the bigger ones. Next, please. So the flex lanes are also known as part-time shoulder use. So what we plan to do is build out the shoulders on either side to be able to add a third lane on the 76 quarter. We're looking at another 4 or 5 years yet, but the project's in the works, it's in design. This will definitely be a game changer. It'll allow us to, what we would probably have the third lane open all day, but possibly close it at night. If there's a crash, we'd be able to close, say for instance, if there was a crash in the left lane, we could close the left lane in advance of the crash, or the left 2 lanes if need be, using these lane use control signals. So it'll definitely be a game changer. Next, please. And a few of the benefits, as I mentioned, to dynamically provide additional capacity. It could work in concert with the variable speed limits to both of them improve traffic. And also, the reduced congestion hopefully will reduce crashes as well. And it'll increase throughput as well on 76 quarter. Next, please. And this is the program schedule. Again, we're still a ways off before we get to construction for the flex lanes. There's 2 sections, FL1 and FL3. One's up near King of Prussia, the other is closer to the city, and then there's a second section yet that's in the middle, FL2. That's probably the bigger lift, I'd say. That one, it's still a ways off. We haven't gotten in design yet for that one. Next, please. And thank you, appreciate it. And I'll be around later on for questions at the end of this seminar. Thank you.
And I think we'll go to the next slide and do some Q&A. There's been a lot of questions in the Q&A box as well as the chat. So I will put on my Jim Ostrich hat and start, Michael, with the very first easy question to you. I think that was from Joseph Haynes, who's in the towing and recovery industry. Does TRIP cover Ohio Turnpike in terms of its coverage area, the towing recovery incentive program?
It doesn't cover the turnpike. Yeah, with that just kind of being its own entity, we don't have cameras and stuff on there that we can access from our traffic management center as well. So we don't have it set up for that.
Okay, easy yes or no answer. Very good. And you went into a lot with regard to the TRIP and its contract. So curious, what, if anything, has changed during the nearly decade that the TRIP program hasn't been in place, whether it be in terms of response times, compensation, activation criteria, or any other aspects? Could you touch on that?
Yeah, a lot of it has actually stayed the same, and it seems to have been pretty successful all throughout the years. the compensation amounts and even the arrival and clearance times that we've associated with it have actually stayed the same. So it's like 45-minute arrival times, 90-minute clearance times, and then the compensation piece has stayed the same as well. So it, it if we've run into any issues or comments or feedback from either towing company or just trying to better improve our incident management, we've been open to that and we've made a few modifications to the contract, but overall I'd say it's pretty much stayed the same.
I think that's a testament to its effectiveness then. Very good. How has the freeway service patrol coverage evolved over the years? You talked about the fact that there, you have it in the major metropolitan areas on the major freeways. And are they DOT or contracted operated?
Yeah, good question. For ODOT, they are contracted employees. ODOT just pays a contract for the operations for the Freeway Service Patrol program. And then trying to think of your first part of the question again.
How's the coverage area evolved in the operating hours? Yeah.
Gotcha. It's been the same 6 urban areas since origination. But the things that we have adjusted are when we first brought the program on, it was all just pickup trucks in all the regions. So over time, we've kind of worked a tow truck into each region just to have as the ability to remove vehicles from lanes if disabled and things like that. And then in conjunction with that, on a couple pickup trucks, we've added what they've called a lane blade, which is kind of a snow plowy type feature that can, lower and basically remove debris from travel lanes without the driver having to get out of the vehicle. So we've put that on, I think, 3 vehicles, and so those are some operational changes we've had, but the areas have stayed the same.
Okay. Kevin, can you switch to video mode for all of our presenters just so that we can hear directly? I think right now I can only see Michael's video. So let me know if we could change it to that video view. There's a couple of questions for you, David, from Brian Porter of Wisconsin DOT. He asked if you can talk about the coordination you had with law enforcement on enforcing the variable speed limits and any lessons learned or things to watch out for that other states should think about before they consider implementing the variable speed limits.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Brian. Our coordination with the state police was during design. A couple of things. One was, on the spacing of the signs, having every half mile apart. In addition to that, if you think about stepping down the speeds, they wanted to see 2 of the same speed in a row. So for instance, if you're at 55 and you want to drop to 35, again, 10-mile-per-hour increments, you go 55, then 2 45s, then down to 35. So it's worked out okay. If you were to drop, say 55, 45, 35, it's a bit, I guess, in the traffic where we call it snappier. So that's a consideration. I haven't gotten a ton of complaints that would make us want to revisit that, but that is something to consider, on what they're looking for in terms of enforcement and what they feel comfortable with. So that'd be couple things there to consider.
Thanks. Jack Sullivan asked, have you discussed the flex lane plan for I-76 with emergency responders to solicit their input?
Yeah, they're important stakeholders for sure throughout the process. So there's 2 parts that are going to help them for sure. Like one is the lane use controls that we could close off the lane in advance of the crash scene. The second is we've had coordination with them on we're adding emergency access points along 76 as well to improve their ability to respond to crashes. Thank you.
Thanks. And there's actually 2 more questions that are similar to the one Jack asked. One was from Brian Purvis. He asked whether you have safety service patrol along the corridor where you're looking at the flex lanes? And if so, how might the hard shoulder running impact their ability to respond to motorist assists?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. We have freeway service patrols. They're contract. We have just two general contracts. One covers the city of Philadelphia. The other covers the suburban counties. In addition to our larger projects will typically on the freeways will typically have service patrols included as part of that individual project to patrol just the project area. And with that, then obviously we adjust our patrols under the general contracts. So how it impact for flex lanes. So a couple key points. One would be, again, we could close down lanes in advance using the lane use control signals, which is a benefit. The second part that's important is, when you close the lane during the night, the shoulder area, you have to reopen it in the morning. So one of our questions was, well, what about debris and having it all clear to open the lane? So we plan on to have, again, we're not there yet, and we don't have any flex lanes yet, but our plans right now is that we would have them run the lane through the length of the corridor to verify that it's clear of debris. They'll have a device on the front that they could use to clear minor debris instead of making our own maintenance crews go out there. In addition, then they'll call into the operations floor to kind of give an all clear that, we can actually open up the lane. So yeah, another thing to definitely think about as it relates to service patrols and flex lanes.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it begs to that broader question that when you have flex or transit lanes, you are definitely increasing the throughput capacity, but there may be a little safety trade-off in the temporary loss of the shoulder lane. And so I'm guessing that as a DOT, the analysis has been done to ensure, and I bring this up to both Michael and David, that, that temporary loss of shoulder lane is managed well. Michael, if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, just trying to provide a second opinion on that. How we operate. We have two corridors in our state where we open the left lane for operations for a period of time, and we utilize our freeway service patrol just as David mentioned. If we're going to open our smart lane at say at 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll have them between 2:30 and 3:30 drive through the lane and do a sweep of that, and then they radio back to our TMC that they've done their sweep and that there's no debris or there's that if there's anything there that we need to take care of. Outside of the initial sweep, it's pretty much the standard operations as far as needing FSP in that area to respond to vehicles and things like that, because we kind of control the opening and closing and lanes and everything of that nature from the TMC. That's just the additional involvement with the freeway service patrol.
Thank you. Let's see what other questions we have. Michael, to you, how often is the queue warning activated that you were talking about? And you talked about it being relatively automated. When does the operator, has the operator have to sort of come into play before it's the messaging is on the DMS or otherwise?
Those queue, I should say it is commonly used and triggered a decent amount in certain various areas depending on the traffic volumes and time of day. But our whole goal is that because it can trigger on and off so much throughout the day, that we didn't want like manual operator involvement with it, because it's just very distracting and it's taking them away from their regions and very time intensive and things like that. So our even though it passes through ATMS, our whole goal is that we want it automated, and when it triggers from the detection, that it automatically posts to a sign with the messaging. And I think it's pretty quick. It's within like 30 seconds or a minute that it like posts the message to the sign automatically.
Okay, so it's very well automated, and there's a comfort level with the automation that it doesn't really need active monitoring from TMC operators. Very good. Let's see if we have any other questions. Yeah, actually, I had one for David. Given the success of the variable speed limit and queue warning on I-76, has that prompted consideration of deployment of the technologies to other corridors?
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely correct. We consider it a success that we see as viable in other locations. So in addition to the flex lanes too, I mean, we have a project already programmed in construction for Blue Route to do variable speed limits. We'll add flex lanes on the Blue Route as well, which again, Blue Route's that's our local nickname for the 476, which is the western side of the suburb. I'm talking like a Philly guy here. And then also like 95 and then and then 30 bypass around downtown. We have a study on 422. Well, it's not been finalized yet, but there's certain considerations for ITS on that as well. So yeah, it's definitely going to change operations, particularly the flex lanes, because right now we have a certain number of people on the floor. We have 8 operators on the floor in the AM and the PM. When we have flex lanes, that's our next trigger in terms of needing more personnel on the floor because it's it's man hours to manage that stuff, right? So that's I consider the number of floor personnel we have right now to be static until we get to the point of actually having flex lanes in operation, and that's when we're going to have to increase staff on the floor.
Very good point. Yeah, it absolutely not only, I presume, requires the floor staffing, but then also all of the other support services, whether it's maintenance of the devices, or it's even our friends in incident response from the law enforcement and fire side, because it does offer greater complexity in the ability to respond or in the timeliness and processes. So, okay. I'm going to sort of see if there are other questions, if anyone has. If I've missed something and there's something you'd like to ask, please raise your hand and hopefully Kevin will be able to unmute you. Questions for our presenter or questions for the TIM program, to the extent that I can put on my Jim Ostrich hat and answer them. Some of those things I may not be able to respond to. So we'll sort of give it a minute. I see there's a hand raised.
Yeah. Hey, Vishali, it's Brian Purvis.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, I just wanted to reach out. I tried to get with Jim Ostrich, but in addition to Crash Responder Safety Week, we've also got the TIM self-assessments going on. It's open until November 30th. We've actually got about 14 of them completed. 19 are in like partially completed. We had about 80 of these done last year. Just reaching out to folks to let them, as a reminder, the 19 people that have already logged into that system, if they could go ahead and complete. And then I know there's some scheduling you guys typically do, but anything you can do to get those completed, we'd really appreciate it.
That's a great plug, Brian. I actually had that in my last slide. I was going to bring it up, but for those that are not familiar with the TIM self-assessment, it is a great online tool. I have the URL I was going to put in a little bit later, but I'm going to do it right now. Give me 1 second. And it is a tool to help regions identify how and what they want to focus on in the near term and the long term to improve their TIM programs. And so, great shout out. If your region has never done a self-assessment and wants some help, please reach out to Jim Ostrich or to Sharon Cuevas from the FHWA TIM program, or Brian. And I did just throw the link in there. It can be done as a part of a TIM committee meeting. That's usually a great way to go through it. You can reach out to your FHWA division staff, perhaps, to help with the self-assessment, conduct of the self-assessment completion. And I think, Brian, we haven't talked, but there's been some discussion that sometime in early next year, we'd like to showcase 2 to 3 agencies, how they conducted their self-assessment, what they learned from it, and how they plan to implement it in the years ahead. So very good point. I think it was in 2021, maybe I'm wrong, give or take a year, where we had 100 different regions and we had 6 or 7 states complete a self-assessment. And we had some instances where the State Department of Transportation did their own TIM self-assessment, and then we had some regions within the state also do a self-assessment. So it is scalable to a statewide level or a regional level. So if you have a TIM committee or a TIM group, you could do it at that group level as well. Brian, I hope I've not mischaracterized any of that.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Vishali.
Absolutely. All right. Anyone else that has a question for Michael or David, or more general questions? And if I was going to put on my Jim hat, I know he wanted to ask, for those of you that have been going gangbusters in planning for Crash Responder Safety Week, is there anything that anyone wishes to share in terms of their plans, particularly from the lens of large scale events or outreach, or unique efforts to promote Crash Responder Safety Week, something creative or different? I'll give it 10 seconds if someone might want to raise their hands. And by the way, to raise your hand, Kevin, how do people raise their hands? I'm not seeing it on my end.
As presenters, I don't know if we can see it, but I believe across the bottom, they should have a button where they can press raise hand.
All right. Any hand raising? All right. So I'm going to do a final call. And I want to sort of give a huge thanks both to David Adams and Michael McNeill. You guys hit it out of the ballpark. Lots of great information. I know some folks wanted copies of your presentations sent to them. I just wanted to check with both of you. Are you comfortable with me sending a PDF of your presentations to a couple of individuals that made a request for it?
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. So we'll get those. If you ask for it, we'll get it out to you. I wanted to share, Amy Falcone noted that Nevada DOT is planning a Touch a Truck educational outreach event in selected schools with responders present at their vehicles on display. I'm wondering if you were inspired with the Touch a Truck event that Maryland Department of Transportation did last year. That sounds pretty cool and exciting. We'll see. Oh, I see a couple of other requests. If you do want to request a copy of the presentations, please reach out to me. I'll put my name in the chat, and I'll send everyone a single email with the PDFs of the presentations. And then with that, anything else I'm missing in standing in for Jim Ostrich's shoes? Thank you. The TIM resources. Very good point. Thank you, Kevin. Let me go ahead and put in the chat all of the links to these various resources. We did have them ready to go, so let me go ahead and send that as well. Let's find the chat. There we go. So you have the FHWA TIM site, the self-assessment tool, past webinar recordings, the training course. Just a heads up, NHI has changed their web hosting platform to Drupal. So the link that you see here is not necessarily going to work, but the one that you see in the chat is the new link. And also there is a new listing of TIM points of contact, state TIM POCs, as of September of this year. And that new link is also in the chat. So with that, big thanks again to David Adams and Michael McNeill. And please log in on November 17th for the national kickoff webinar. And then December 3rd, our Talking Tim will focus on the business case for TIM programs, and will feature Washington State Department of Transportation, as well as 1 to 2 other state DOTs. So thank you so much. And